My fingers tap out an email I can't believe I'm actually considering sending. Resignation. It's a word I never pictured next to my name. But here we are. Not even noon and the day's already a dumpster fire, all courtesy of Ben. Okay, maybe not all his fault. I hold the phone with Ben's latest message, the one that might have tanked my entire career. I feel a bit sick. Don't overreact, I mutter to myself, but who am I kidding? Ben, the hotshot new VP, with his stupid perfect smile and stupid habit of texting me things like, "Can't wait for tomorrow," has been a problem practically since day one. My thumb hovers over the delete button. Nope, can't do it. Not until I've reread this disaster at least 10 more times in a blind, masochistic panic. Work emails shouldn't feel this scandalous, but then again, the sly flirting, the way he'd linger when we'd run into each other at the coffee machine, none of that was exactly work-appropriate either. Mark had noticed, of course he had. A raised eyebrow here, a slightly too casual, "How's Ben?" there, I brushed it off. He's just being friendly, I'd said, and mostly I really believed it, until I didn't. Turns out, after work drinks with the office heartthrob is a slippery slope. Just one drink turned into 3. Turned into his hand on mine that time he pretended to help me with a napkin. Turned into... Well, let's not revisit last week, shall we? Traffic was crazy, I'd said to Mark, walking in late, smelling of Ben's cologne and lies. Now, with Ben's stupid winky face message on my phone, my cheeks burn. Mark's instincts were right. I should have listened, he knows me well enough to sense when something's off. Sarah, my boss Jenny, practically jolts me out of my skin. "Everything all right? You look a little distracted." Distracted is one word for it. Mortified. Panicked. About to lose my job. It doesn't take a genius to connect the dots. The office party last week. The one where I had way too much champagne and ended up laughing too loudly with Ben on the balcony. The one where my coworkers probably started noticing. And apparently Ben himself took the obvious flirting thing as a full green light to get more explicit. I clear my throat. Just a headache. I manage. Giving her my best, everything's fine smile. I can already see Jenny's mind whirring, boss mode activated, probably deciding if I'm hungover or about to quit. Maybe both. Time to cut my losses, I realize with a sinking feeling. Ben's reckless message makes it clear. He's got zero boundaries. And I'm one nervous breakdown away from HR getting involved. It's him or me. And after 10 years here at this company. Well, it stings like hell, but I know what I have to do. Now all that's left is figuring out how to explain this to Mark. 3 missed calls, oh no. The phone feels heavy in my hand. 3 missed calls from Mark in the space of an hour. My pulse quickens. He's never done that before. It's barely lunchtime. And already today's shaping up to be more of the same high-wire stress fest. Should I call him back? Can I stall until I've scrubbed all evidence of Ben from my phone? I swipe open the secure messaging app. My heart in my throat. If Ben's texted since this morning, I'm screwed. Nothing. Breathing a shaky sigh of relief, I begin the tedious process. Delete, delete, delete. It's become a sickening ritual. An addictive one too. I hate myself even as I relish the jolt of deleting another illicit message. The thrill of covering my tracks. I know exactly how messed up it is. How easily this could blow up my whole life. But Ben makes me feel seen. He flatters me. Makes me laugh. Fills up all those hollow spaces that have been aching inside me for longer than I care to admit. The lies are piling up as fast as the deleted texts. Working late, I told Mark last night, sneaking off to meet Ben at that little wine bar with its dim lighting and dangerously good cocktails. It had been intense. Ben's hand resting a little too long on mine as we shared a plate of tapas. That electric look in his eyes that makes me blush and feel 20 years younger. Maybe I am going crazy. Mark used to look at me like that. Well, a long time ago. Now it's like we're roommates, not husband and wife. He barely notices me. Always wrapped up in work or out late with his buddies or just distant. Staring at his phone while I try to talk to him. Do I have a right to be angry? Angry or just pathetic? Grabbing at attention from the hot new guy at work because my husband can barely be bothered to ask how my day was. Another vibration. Not Mark this time. Ben. A simple, thinking of you. I feel a shameful rush. It's so childish, so reckless, but it's a lifeline to a world where someone actually notices me, where I'm not just Mark's wife, the woman who's always just there. I type a hasty excuse about being in a meeting as I duck into the bathroom, locking the door behind me. The bathroom mirror throws my reflection back at me. Dark circles under my eyes. A tense line around my mouth. Is this who I've become? The woman with secrets? I scrub at my face. I need a plan. I can't keep doing this. But the thought of stopping. A wave of nausea hits. Am I addicted to the drama? To finally feeling something, even if it's a toxic mix of guilt and excitement? The knock startles me. Sarah? You okay in there? Jenny again. I splash cold water on my face, force a smile, and unlock the door. It's time to shove my mess of feelings away, slap on my best professional face, and pretend like everything's normal. Because sooner or later it's all going to implode. My hands are shaking so badly I can barely unlock the front door. The house, usually a comforting haven after a long day, now feels like a tomb. Silent. Cold. Accusatory. The weight of Mark's absence hits me with the force of a physical blow. He's never stormed out like that, not in all our years together. I sink down on the edge of the sofa, the two bright floral cushions suddenly garish, mocking. My mind races. Where did I go wrong? I saw the accidental text, the way Mark's face hardened when he glanced at my phone. Some innocent message from Ben, but Mark wouldn't know that. It must have been the final straw. Did he see the way I light up when Ben's around? The stupid, flirty banter? The linger at the coffee machine? The way I laugh at his jokes even when they're not that funny? He must have seen something. Maybe he even confronted Ben already? That thought sends a tremor of panic through me. I scramble for my phone, but there's nothing from Ben. No callback, no explanation, just chilling silence. Coward. A surge of anger washes over the nausea. Was I just a conquest? An ego boost? The thrill of chasing a married woman? I feel so stupid, so used. Then again, what did I expect? Ben's a player. The whole office knows it. And I wanted so desperately to be something other than Mark's boring wife that I threw myself into this mess like a blindfolded idiot. The silence of the house feels suffocating now. I need to hear a voice. Any voice. Numbly I dial Jenny, my best friend since college. Surely she'll understand. She'll. Sarah, are you okay? You sound. Her voice trails off. She doesn't sound judgmental, exactly. Worried. It hits me. She already knows. The gossip mill works fast, especially when the scandal involves the new hotshot VP. I can't hold it in anymore. Words tumble out of me. A messy confession of guilt and fear and stupid, selfish choices. Jenny listens. There are a few shocked gasps, then a thoughtful silence. When she finally speaks, it's not what I expected. No, how could you? Or what about Mark? Instead, it's a simple, what are you going to do? What am I going to do? The question hangs between us. Fix it? Even if Mark were to take me back after this, which, would I ever truly trust him again? Could I even trust myself? The kitchen counter gleams. That's where Mark left the note. I didn't even look closely when I walked in. Now my hands are trembling again as I reach for it. Just a few scribbled words. Need space, don't wait up. At least he didn't write, I hate you. There's a flicker of hope there, however pathetic. I fold the note carefully, tucking it into a pocket. It's time for some damage control. Time to face whatever version of tomorrow comes next. I wake up with a gasp, heart pounding as if I've been running. Running from what? It takes a few disorienting seconds to realize it was just a dream. A horrible dream where Mark was yelling at me, throwing his wedding ring on the floor. He'd looked so full of rage, of disgust. My stomach churns. Is that our future? Time seems to have lost all meaning. Each day bleeds into the next. It's like I'm living in a fog, going through the motions but not really present. I manage to drag myself to work, plaster on a fake smile, answer emails as if my life hasn't shattered into a million pieces. But it has. The accidental pocket dial is a new kind of torture. I hear it in my head. That muffled recording of my choked sobs. Begging Mark to come home. Pathetic. I don't even remember making the call, but he must have heard it. Has he deleted it yet? Or does he keep it as proof of how pathetic I am? To my complete horror, Ben's emails start up again. But there's no more teasing, no more thinking of you. Now it's coldly formal. The language of a lawyer, not a lover. Please refrain from contacting me. This is inappropriate. It's like a slap. He wants to make it my fault, distance himself. Of course he does. He got what he wanted. Now it's time to save his own skin. The grocery store becomes a minefield. Every trip is haunted by the possibility of bumping into Mark. Today, my luck runs out. There he is, at the end of the aisle. Looking gaunt and unfamiliar. For a second our eyes meet. Then he looks away. Actually recoils like I'm something disgusting. The tears come hot and fast as soon as I get back to the car. They blur my vision as I fumble for my keys. My breath hitching in huge, embarrassing sobs. Strangers passing by give me concerned looks. I don't care. Let them look. Let them pity me. It's what I deserve. That evening, the doorbell rings. It's Sarah from next door. Sweet Sarah, always baking cookies or offering to help with my garden. She holds out an envelope. A manila envelope. The kind that means nothing good. The mailman mixed it up with our stuff, she says awkwardly. I just stare at the envelope. The divorce papers. They're official now. There's no going back. No magical reconciliation scene like in the movies. This is it. Sarah offers some stumbling words of sympathy. Then retreats, leaving me alone with the stark weight of that envelope. As for my friends, they mean well, I guess. But their pitying looks. The platitudes about how I'll get through this make me want to scream. Even Jenny sounds different on the phone. Cautious. The truth is I'm radioactive now. The woman who blew up her life. It's the perfect cautionary tale for every bored housewife in the office. I can see it in their eyes. I'm not the same as them anymore. Maybe they were never truly my friends anyway. You look terrible. My reflection in the bathroom mirror doesn't argue. Haggard eyes. Pale skin. Hair that hasn't seen conditioner in far too long. It's more than a bad look, though. This is what betrayal looks like. What self-destruction looks like. But I can't hide in here forever. Even the act of taking a shower, washing away the grime of despair, feels like a small victory. I stand a little taller as I blow dry my hair, apply a touch of mascara. Maybe I'm strong enough for this. Whatever this is. My therapist calls it a turning point. You're shifting from reaction to action, she says with that little knowing smile they all have. I guess endless sessions of talking about my disastrous decisions, my pathetic attempts at justification, finally wore through the layers of denial. The truth is, I'm sick of feeling sorry for myself. Sure, Mark was distant. Maybe I got bored. But how did those flimsy excuses justify throwing my whole life away for a cheap office affair? No, it's on me now. There's a bitter liberation in owning that. At night, I still dream of Mark. Not the angry nightmares of the first few weeks, but different. We're talking calmly, having a real conversation for the first time in years. And then as I reach for him, it all dissolves and he's a stranger again with eyes full of cold contempt. I wake up shaking and it takes hours to fall back to sleep. Jenny drags me to the art opening. I protest, but she's insistent, like it'll drag me back into normal life. I plaster on a social smile and hold a glass of terrible wine, trying to look like I belong amidst the chattering art crowd. And then, there he is. A stranger, actually. Older, a little rumpled, with kind eyes behind his glasses. He seems genuinely glad to see me. I realize with a jolt that it's David, Jenny's accountant friend who she swears is perfect for me. Just talk to him, she'd urged. But it felt beyond impossible back then. Now, in the face of my total wreckage of a love life, I suppose I have nothing to lose. Can I refill your wine? He asks. There's no pity in his voice, no judgment. Just a simple act of kindness that takes me by surprise. We end up talking for hours. Turns out boring old accountants can actually be interesting, especially when they listen without fixing or judging. I don't mention Ben or Mark or any of it. Yet, as the night winds down, I feel lighter somehow. Like I've taken a hesitant step outside my own miserable little bubble. The apology letter sits on my desk, half finished. I've started and stopped dozens of times. Can a few words on a page even begin to convey the depth of my regret? Is it just more self-indulgence, begging for forgiveness I don't deserve? Then again, maybe it's not about forgiveness at all. It's about acknowledging the truth, the pain I caused Mark. Finally, I type out the words, simple and raw. I was wrong, I'm so sorry. Will he even read it? Maybe it'll vanish into the junk folder. The cursor hovers over the send button. My finger trembles, then presses down. Relief and fear twist together in my gut. Days stretch into a slow agony of waiting. And then my phone buzzes. It's not forgiveness, not even close. But it's a reply. Let's talk. It's the tiniest crack in that massive wall between us, but it feels like a lifeline. Maybe I can build something new from the ashes after all. That's a story for tomorrow though. Today this tiny bit of hope is enough. Sarah, is that really you? I freeze mid-sip, wine sloshing dangerously in my glass. Of course it's me, Melissa. Who else would it be? It takes me a few disorienting seconds to realize the setting. It's Emily's birthday dinner. The first big get-together since the incident. Mark and I had carefully avoided these events, but I guess staying hidden forever was never a viable option. Melissa, sweet but gossipy Melissa from HR, is staring at me with those wide eyes. She's probably trying to decide whether to offer condolences or pretend like nothing happened. I force a smile I don't feel. Surprise? Her eyes flick towards Mark sitting across the crowded table. He doesn't look back. Well, yeah. Her voice is too bright, too brittle. She takes a large gulp of Chardonnay and continues, I mean, it's great to see you, but I just figured you guys were. She trails off, clearly searching for a polite euphemism. Taking some time, I offer, plastering on my best everything's fine facade. Inside I'm cringing. It's exactly what Mark and I have been doing. Awkward silences at breakfast, sleeping in separate rooms. The gulf between us stretches wider every day, despite that one tense coffee shop meeting prompted by my apology email. He'd been civil at least, which felt like progress at the time, but it's a far cry from the kind of relationship we used to have. Small talk with a slightly drunk coworker about your imploded marriage. Yes, this was just the kind of social interaction I was craving. I make my escape to the bathroom, the taste of the wine like acid in my mouth. My reflection in the mirror is harsh under the fluorescent lights. Dark circles under my eyes. A smile that looks forced. There's still a ghost of the old life in there somewhere. The confident, capable woman I used to be. But that woman feels very, very far away. When I finally return to the table, Mark is gone. I feel a sharp flare of disappointment. We might be separated, but there's still an unseen thread connecting us. I see it in the way our friends shift uncomfortably when we're in the same space. The not-so-subtle side-taking and whispered conversations. David, the unlikely ray of light who came from that gallery opening, places a hand gently on my shoulder. Want to step outside, grab some air? I nod, grateful. We stand on the dimly lit patio, escaping the noise, the awkward pity. It's still early for a real date, but his presence is surprisingly comforting. A year ago, I was on the same patio, laughing amongst the same group of people about some inside joke I don't even remember. Tonight, it's like I'm on the outside, looking in, watching a life I no longer recognize as my own. The anniversary of that first drink with Ben hangs heavy in the air, unacknowledged but felt. Back inside, I catch bits of conversation at a nearby table. Poor Emily, to have all this drama at her party. Heard Ben finally got fired? There's a flash of dark satisfaction. Karma, I guess, is real. Then something unexpected. Shame about his wife, though. Suddenly, I feel a jolt of empathy for the woman I never met. Penn's Park. Betrayed, blindsided, just like Mark was. A reminder that my reckless choices created ripples far wider than I could ever have imagined. So, a fresh start. David's tone isn't accusatory, but there's a question hanging there. We're sitting on my barely furnished living room floor, sharing a celebratory takeout pizza after the moving truck finally left. Yes, the single word echoes in the emptiness. It's both terrifying and thrilling. This idea of leaving it all behind. The wreckage of my marriage. The judgmental coworkers. The endless cycle of whispers and regrets. David reaches for my hand, his grip reassuringly warm. Just checking how you feel about it all. He smiles. I don't want to be a rebound, Sarah. I know it's been. Well, it's been a damn mess. I should be offended, I suppose. But the truth of the matter is, he's not wrong. I met David at my absolute lowest. I'm surprised he's still around, honestly. But there's a quiet strength to him. An unwavering kindness that feels like a lifeline when so much else has shattered. I told you about everything. Ben, Mark, the whole train wreck. He'd listened, offering no judgment. Just space for me to work through it all. I don't expect you to fix me or even want that. He smiles again. This one's softer. I like you, Sarah. Broken pieces and all. He squeezes my hand. But if this is about running away, not running towards something. His words linger, and I know he's right. A clean slate doesn't erase the stain of what I've done. But maybe it's time I learned to live with the stain. To own it as part of my story. But not the whole damn thing. The job offer. An out-of-the-blue opportunity at a design company in a city I'd never even visited. Felt like a lifeline. Now that it's real. That I'm surrounded by boxes filled with the detritus of my old life. The terror is setting in. Can I actually do this? The next day I face Ben in a small neutral coffee shop. He'd begged for this meeting, claiming he had to apologize in person. Whatever. I mostly figured it was his pathetic attempt at closure. Or maybe a ploy to avoid Jenny, his now ex-boss. He looks terrible. Worn out, eyes hollow behind a hastily attempted hipster beard. Gone is the cocky hotshot VP. It provides a small sliver of satisfaction. Proof that karma works, even if a little slowly. His apology is a pathetic, rambling mess. Penn's Park. Something about his wife. How he finally understood the pain he'd caused. I don't believe him. Not for a second. But there's no need for anger anymore. The spark between us is dead. As I rise to leave, a strange thing happens. He looks almost afraid of me. It's a small victory. A tiny reclaiming of power. That night I have the first dream in weeks that doesn't revolve around Mark's accusing eyes. It's a simple dream. Me crossing a bridge into a sunlit city. The weight on my shoulders a little lighter with each step. I take that dream as a sign. Pack the essentials into my car and say my goodbyes. Jenny, bless her, is all tears and promises to visit. David, bless him even more, insists on driving the moving truck with me. Keeping me entertained with silly road trip games and terrible jokes. At our last stop, Mark even stops by awkwardly. Hands me an envelope. Your mail keeps getting redirected, he mumbles. Then leaves as quickly as he arrived. The drive is long but surprisingly cathartic. Miles eat up the distance between my old life and whatever comes next. The first night alone in a faceless hotel room is hard. But I curl up under the generic duvet and order room service, which feels shockingly decadent. The interview is nerve-wracking. But they seem unfazed by my unconventional resume gap. They're not hiring the old Sarah, the one who had it all together. They're taking a chance on this new version. The one who survived a mess of her own making and came out swinging. For the first time in forever, that feels like a risk. The clock strikes 8, and the candles on our dinner table flicker, casting shadows that dance across the empty chair opposite me. It's our 10th anniversary, and I've prepared David's favorite meal, hoping to reclaim some semblance of the connection we once shared. But as minutes morph into hours, the realization sets in, he's not coming. My phone buzzes with a message from him, deadline's insane. Can't make it tonight, sorry, love. Disappointment tightens my chest, not because of his absence, but because this has become our norm. In the silence of our too-big house, I find myself reflecting on the growing distance between us. David's latest novel has captivated him, and in turn, his career has eclipsed our life together. The success I once dreamed of for him now feels like the very thing prying us apart. A week later, at a work conference, I meet Liam. He's everything David used to be, attentive, charming, and present. We're drawn together as if by some unspoken understanding, and for a moment, I allow myself to forget the emptiness waiting at home. Over coffee, Liam does something I've missed deeply, he listens. As I share my frustrations, not just about David's absence but about my own unfulfilled desires, Liam's gaze never wavers from mine. It's a simple act, but it fills a void I've been unable to articulate, even to myself. The contrast between David's preoccupations and Liam's attentiveness sharpens in the days that follow. When David's novel garners critical acclaim, it only serves to deepen our rift. His world is one of words and accolades, a world where I no longer seem to fit. Then, Liam surprises me with a gift. It's nothing extravagant, just a book I mention in passing, but it's the thoughtfulness behind it that touches me. It's a reminder of the connections I've been craving, the small acts of understanding and care that have become so rare in my marriage. As I sit with Liam, laughing and sharing stories, I can't help but feel a mix of guilt and exhilaration. I'm aware of the dangerous path I'm treading, yet I'm also acutely aware of my own happiness for the first time in years. In Liam's company, I find a glimpse of the woman I used to be, one who laughs freely and dreams boldly. The realization hits me hard and fast. I'm at a crossroads, caught between the life I've built with David and the possibility of something entirely different with Liam. It's a choice that feels both impossible and inevitable, a choice that I know will define the path of my life from this moment forward. The evening air was brisk, the kind that hinted at change. I sat across from Liam, the glow of my laptop casting shadows on his face. It was just another late work night, or so I told myself. David was probably still hunched over his manuscript, lost to the world. The comparison was inevitable. Where David's thoughts were miles away, Liam was here, intensely present. "I never see you this relaxed at the office," Liam commented, his voice cutting through the silence of the empty office. I laughed, a sound that felt more foreign than it should. "It's hard to relax when you're juggling deadlines." He smiled, and in a moment of spontaneity that I'd later replay 1,000 times, our conversation gave way to a silence that pulsed with unspoken tension. Then, without a word, Liam leaned across the table, his kiss a mixture of certainty and questions I wasn't ready to answer. The drive home was a blur of streetlights and racing thoughts. David was asleep, as expected, the gentle rise and fall of his chest a silent testament to our growing chasm. Guilt gnawed at me, yet there was an undeniable thrill that coursed through my veins, a sensation I hadn't felt in years. By morning, Liam's name lit up my phone, his messages a constant presence that both excited and terrified me. "Thinking of you, read one." Simple words, yet they held the power to unravel the life I had meticulously built. I started crafting lies with an ease that disturbed me, each excuse more creative than the last, just to steal moments with Liam. Coffee dates turned into covert meetings, our secrecy adding fuel to the fire. Then came the evening David had planned a surprise dinner, a rare attempt to bridge the distance between us. But by then, Liam and I had crossed a line I couldn't return from. I called David, my voice shaking as I fabricated a work emergency, the disappointment in his silence a heavy weight. Liam and I met at a hotel that night, the final barrier between us crumbling. The physicality of our affair marked a point of no return, a stark departure from the life I shared with David. In those moments, I was lost to the intoxication of newfound desire, a desire that blinded me to the inevitable fallout. As I lay awake in the early hours, reality began to seep through the cracks of my euphoria. The gravity of my choices settled over me, a blanket of uncertainty. David's unwavering commitment, once the foundation of our marriage, now felt like a distant memory, overshadowed by the immediacy of my betrayal. The chapter of my life with David was closing, each deceitful step with Liam turning the page toward an uncertain future. Yet, even as I ventured further away, a part of me lingered in the life I was leaving behind, caught between the comfort of the past and the thrill of the unknown. I never thought a piece of paper could shatter my world. Yet, there it was, a hotel receipt fluttering to the floor from my purse, its stark white presence a silent accusation in David's trembling hand. His eyes, a mix of confusion and hurt, met mine, searching for an explanation I wasn't prepared to give. "It's not what you think," I began, the lie tasting bitter on my tongue. But the truth, raw and unyielding, demanded to be acknowledged. "David, I'm so sorry. There's someone else." The room seemed to contract, every detail sharp in the wake of my confession. David's face crumpled, a visual echo of the pain I felt inside. "Is this why you've been so distant?" His voice was a whisper, a thread holding us together. "Yes," I admitted, the weight of my betrayal settling between us. He suggested couples therapy, a lifeline thrown in the storm of our crumbling marriage. But my heart, foolishly entangled with Liam's promises, had already veered off course. "I can't," I said, the words severing what little hope remained. I'm leaving, David. Moving in with Liam felt like stepping into a new world, one painted with the vibrant colors of passion and possibility. The mundane reality of shared life, however, quickly dulled the gloss of our affair. Liam's attentiveness waned, his nights out with friends stretching longer, leaving me alone with the shadows of my choices. At first, the silence was a welcome reprieve from the chaos of leaving David. But as days turned into weeks, the emptiness grew, a stark reminder of what I'd left behind. Liam, once the source of my exhilaration, became a mirror reflecting the solitude of my decisions. Liam, can we talk? I attempted one evening, the words catching him as he prepared to leave. About what? I'm late, he said, his impatience a cold splash against my growing doubts. It's just, do we have a future together? My voice trembled, betraying my fear of the answer. We're living our future, Amelia. Don't overthink it. His response was a kiss on my forehead, a gesture that once would have set my heart aflame but now felt like a dismissal. As the door closed behind him, the silence enveloped me once more. The vibrancy of our beginning had faded, leaving in its place a stark realization. I had traded a life of quiet disconnect with David for a louder, more poignant solitude with Liam. The illusion shattered on a Tuesday evening, ordinary in every way except for the revelation that broke me. Liam, where do we see this going? I asked, a question I danced around for weeks. His avoidance was a dance of its own, each step taking him further from the answer I needed. We're good where we are, aren't we? Liam replied, his attention fixed on his phone rather than the conversation that could define us. It was then I noticed, the way his fingers paused, a slight shift in his expression. Curiosity overcame me, a silent spectator to the unraveling of my own life. I saw them, messages to other women, words that mirrored those he once whispered to me, a betrayal that cut deeper than the cold air of loneliness. I sought solace in old friends, those shared with David, only to be met with cold shoulders and hushed tones. Their loyalty lay with the man I'd left behind, a stark reminder of the world I had forsaken for a mirage of happiness. It was amidst this desolation that I found it, a symbol of what had been and what I'd thrown away. An unopened anniversary card, meant for David and me, from friends who now turned their backs. The card, heavy with unspoken words and lost time, brought the weight of reality crashing down upon me. Regret, a companion I'd tried to outrun, settled in, whispering truths I could no longer ignore. Driven by a need to mend the unbridgeable gap I'd created, I reached out to David. My messages were a deluge of apologies and realizations, each word a plea for forgiveness, for a chance to right the wrongs. David, I understand if you can never forgive me, but I am so sorry for the pain I've caused. I miss us, and I've realized too late what truly matters. Days passed, each silent one stretching the distance between my apology and his response. David was wrestling with his own demons, the hurt and betrayal I'd inflicted battling against the remnants of what we once shared. In the silence of my decisions, I understood the gravity of my actions. The pain of betrayal, once abstract in my pursuit of something more, became my reality. The journey from the excitement of new beginnings to the desolation of their aftermath was a path paved with choices I could never take back. The wait for David's response was more than a hope for reconciliation. It was a testament to the cost of my decisions, a price paid in the currency of lost love and broken trust. The silence was deafening, each day stretching into an eternity as I waited for David's response. My heart was a battleground of hope and anxiety, each message sent into the void a testament to my desperation for forgiveness. David, on the other end, was a fortress of pain and contemplation. I could only imagine him, surrounded by the remnants of our life together, weighing the possibility of forgiveness against the hurt that seemed insurmountable. The man I had loved, and hurt, was now a stranger guarded by his own heartache. Then, one day, amidst the endless waiting, it arrived. A letter, unassuming in its appearance, but heavy with the weight of finality. Enclosed was the anniversary card, a cruel reminder of the happiness we once shared, now tainted by my betrayal. David's message was succinct, a single line that shattered any lingering hope. The space between us has grown too wide. I tried to reach him, to breach the vast expanse that had formed between us, but my calls went unanswered, my messages left to float in the digital ether. The silence from David was a clear message, louder than any words could convey. Driven by a need for closure, or perhaps punishment, I visited our once shared home. The door creaked open to reveal a tomb of memories, the silence a stark contrast to the laughter and love that once filled the space. Each room was a chapter of our life together, now closed and gathering dust. In the stillness of our home, the full weight of my choices crashed down upon me. Regret, a constant shadow since the day I left, now enveloped me completely. The realization that I had traded true companionship for fleeting excitement was a bitter pill, one that I swallowed amidst the echoes of a life no longer mine. The path to rebuilding was not immediate. It started with small steps, each one a conscious effort to mend the parts of me that had led me astray. I dove into personal growth, seeking understanding in the pages of books, the words of counselors, and the solace of solitude. My journey was not about finding a new love, but rediscovering the love for myself that I had neglected. In the rebuilding, I found resilience. The process was slow, often painful, but necessary. I learned to forgive myself, to accept the consequences of my actions, and to find strength in the acknowledgement of my mistakes. The journey was mine alone, a path from the ruins of regret to the possibility of peace. The news hit me like a wave, unexpected and overwhelming. David's novel, a raw recount of our story, had climbed the ranks to become a bestseller. Each word, a testament to the pain and beauty of our shared past, now lay bare for the world to see. It was a strange sensation, knowing that our private turmoil had been transformed into a narrative that resonated with so many. David, through his writing, had found a way to mend the fractures in his life, his career now unassailable. I sought refuge in my work, hoping to find a semblance of the fulfillment that seemed to elude me at every turn. The void left by my failed marriage and the subsequent fallout with Liam, who remained unfazed by our separation, was a constant reminder of the choices I had made. His life continued in its usual carefree manner, a stark contrast to the introspection and rebuilding that defined mine. A mutual friend's wedding became a mirror reflecting the consequences of my decisions. I attended alone, a solitary figure among couples and happy faces. The weight of my past choices pressed heavily upon me, a tangible reminder of the loneliness I had wrought upon myself. David was there, a presence as undeniable as the sun, yet as unreachable as the stars. His deliberate avoidance was a clear message, the distance between us now a chasm too wide to bridge. In the aftermath, I attempted to forge new connections, to find a way to trust and be vulnerable once more. But each interaction was tainted by the fear of repeating my past mistakes, leaving me trapped in a cycle of hesitation and regret. David, meanwhile, embarked on a book tour, each stop a step further away from the life we once shared. Through his writing, he found solace and a way to move forward, crafting a new beginning from the ashes of our story. His journey was a testament to the healing power of creativity, a path I admired yet could not follow. As I navigated the complexities of rebuilding my life, I was acutely aware of the irony that David and I, once so intertwined, were now finding our separate ways to heal and grow. His success was a reminder of what could have been if different choices had been made, yet it also underscored the importance of seeking redemption and understanding in the wake of our shared tragedy. My journey was far from over, each day a step towards understanding and forgiveness, both for myself and the love we had lost. The realization that true growth comes from facing our deepest fears and vulnerabilities was a difficult lesson, one that I learned in the silence of my solitude and the echoes of a past that continued to shape my path forward. The moment of realization hit me unexpectedly, a stark, illuminating truth amidst the chaos of my own making. True happiness, I finally understood, wasn't found in the exhilarating rush of forbidden passion but in the steady warmth of stability and mutual respect. This epiphany dawned on me not with fanfare but in the quiet solitude of my apartment, a place that had witnessed the highs and lows of my tumultuous journey. Seeking a sense of purpose that my career no longer provided, I turned my energies towards volunteering for a local community project. The work was grounding, a reminder that there was a world beyond my own heartache, a world where I could make a difference. It was during these moments of selfless service that I began to find the pieces of myself I had lost along the way. The news of David's engagement came as a quiet shock, a social media update that turned the page on a chapter one had long clung to. The finality of it all was sobering, there was no going back, only forward. As I stared at the smiling faces on my screen, I felt a deep sense of loss but also a flicker of hope for both David and myself. In the solitude that followed, I took a long, hard look at the path my life had taken. Acknowledging my mistakes and the hurt I had caused was a painful process, but it was necessary for healing. I had wandered far from the woman I once was, but I was determined to find my way back, to rebuild myself into someone stronger and wiser. Companionship came in an unexpected form, a dog whose boundless energy and unconditional love filled my days with laughter and purpose. In caring for him, I found a sense of responsibility that anchored me, a constant reminder of the simple joys life had to offer. When David married, it was a quiet confirmation of the end of our story. Though I wasn't there to witness it, I felt the closure it brought, a necessary step for us both towards new beginnings. Reconnecting with my family, I was met with understanding and support, their unconditional love a balm for my weary soul. They welcomed me back, not with judgment but with open arms, ready to help me pick up the pieces. Embracing my newfound self-awareness, I made a vow to myself. I would build a life marked by genuine connections and self-love, a life where happiness was not a fleeting moment but a constant state of being. My journey was far from over, but I was ready to face whatever came my way, armed with the lessons of my past and the hope for There I was, in the thick of it, orchestrating the perfect anniversary dinner. Every dish on that table was a love letter to our years together. I'd spent days planning, turning our home into something out of a fairy tale. Friends and family toasted to our love, hanging on every word of my heartfelt speech about us, about hope. The night wrapped up with this local musician, serenading us with those tunes that were the soundtrack to our love. It was perfect, too perfect, but life has a funny way of showing you what's really underneath. Fast forward to this swanky corporate bash I had no business being at, dressed to kill. That's where Mr. Charming comes in, courtesy of a well-meaning but clueless friend. Our connection was electric, the kind of spark you read about but never really think you'll feel. We talked for hours, our lives unfolding to each other like some kind of epic novel. When we parted, it wasn't just a handshake, but a promise, a door to something forbidden yet irresistible. The affair kicked off with a frenzy. Pretending it was all for work, I slipped away to meet him, our passion hidden away in some no-name hotel, our laughter echoing down streets where nobody knew us. We made vows in those hidden moments, promises as fragile as our secret. Back at home, though, the air shifted. My husband, always the detail-oriented one, started connecting dots I'd hoped he'd never even see. Those quiet, probing questions over dinner, his eyes searching mine for something I couldn't give him. Truth. It was like living on a fault line, waiting for the quake. Then came the showdown, a quiet storm. He laid out his evidence, those credit card statements like a trail of breadcrumbs leading straight to my guilt. I tried, really tried, to weave some tale, to patch the gaping holes in my story, but lies, they have a weight, you know? He suggested counseling, a lifeline I wasn't sure I wanted to grab. We were two people, worlds apart in that moment. The space between us filled with doubt and unspoken hurt. But the heart wants what it wants, my lover and I. We threw caution to the wind, our secret meetings not so secret anymore. Gifts, dinners, whispers of a future together. It was intoxicating. Until it wasn't. That gnawing guilt, the fear of getting caught. It was a shadow, always there. The final blow wasn't a surprise, not really. My husband, with his quiet determination, had sought the truth and found it, laid bare by a stranger with a camera. Those photos, they didn't just capture moments. They shattered everything. The confrontation that followed was a reckoning. His pain, my shame, our life together up in smoke. Lying awake at 3 a.m., the room's silence feels like it's screaming at me. My mind's a battlefield, heart tugging me one way, guilt and duty yanking me another. It's been nights like this, tossing and turning, wrestling with the mess I've got myself into. Love or whatever this chaos is, it's got me thinking about leaving everything I've known. So I do what any desperate soul would. I call up my bestie, hoping she's got the magic words. But after hours of pouring my heart out, all I get is "It's your call, girl." Great, back to square one with a side of extra confusion. In a moment that feels like clarity, or maybe just sheer madness, I write this letter to my husband. It's raw. All my feelings spilled out on paper. A letter I never planned to send. But it feels good, you know? Like I'm finally admitting it to myself. Then I start packing a suitcase in secret, a small bag that feels like I'm packing up my entire life. The decision feels like a punch to the gut. I'm leaving. I convince myself it's love, that what I feel for this other guy is the real deal. It's a decision that lights a fuse, setting off a chain of events I'm nowhere near ready for. Meeting my lover, I'm a bundle of nerves, heart racing with hope and fear. I'm leaving him for us, I say, expecting, I don't know, fireworks. Instead I get panic, a cold splash of reality as he admits this was never meant to be more than a fling. My world crumbles right there, all my dreams turning to dust. Then comes the bombshell from my husband. He's found out, his face a mix of hurt and anger I've never seen before. The ultimatum is brutal, end it or it's over. Standing there, shattered by my lover's rejection, I realize the depth of the hole I've dug for myself. Trying to plead my case feels like trying to hold on to water. Futile. In desperation, I reach out to my lover, hoping he'd see sense. But I'm met with a wall of silence, blocked, ignored. My pleas for understanding are just echoes in a void. It's rejection in its coldest form, leaving me reeling, alone with nowhere to turn. My husband's patience runs out. I come home to find my life packed up in boxes outside our house, my belongings a silent testament to the end of my marriage. It's a physical exile that mirrors the emotional one I've already been feeling. He's firm, but broken. And I'm just lost. I call a friend, my voice shaking as I ask for shelter. She agrees, but the reluctance in her voice is a punch to the gut. Moving into her spare room, I'm surrounded by walls that feel like they're closing in on me, my presence an unwelcome reminder of the chaos I've caused. As the scandal breaks, whispers turn to shouts, social media to a battleground. Friends become strangers overnight, their looks a mix of pity and scorn. My world shrinks to a room in a friend's house, my once vibrant social life now just memories and what-ifs. Just when you think you've hit rock bottom, life hands you a shovel and tells you to keep digging. That's me, digging my way through the mess I've made, starting with job hunting like it's an Olympic sport. My resume's getting more action than I am, constantly tweaking it for jobs I'm overqualified for or completely clueless about. Amid the chaos, a light bulb moment. Why not turn this crisis into a launchpad for my own business? Easier said than done. But desperation breeds creativity, right? Networking events become my new hangout, swapping wine for business cards, trying to schmooze my way into opportunities. And then there's the blog, a mix of catharsis and PR spin telling my side without spilling too much tea. Legal advice is next on my checklist. Wrongful termination has a nice ring to it, but the legal jargon's a headache I'm not ready for. Flip the script to the home front, my soon-to-be ex is lawyering up like we're in a primetime legal drama. He's collecting evidence like it's going out of style, aiming to paint me as the villain in our marital collapse. I'm scrambling for a decent lawyer, someone who doesn't charge their weight in gold but can still pack a punch in court. As for friends, they're becoming as scarce as my job prospects, taking sides in a battle I never wanted to fight. Downward spiral? More like a nosedive. Job applications are my daily dose of rejection, pushing me towards considering a career makeover. Support groups and therapy sessions fill the gaps between job hunts and legal battles, offering a glimmer of sanity. Selling off my stuff feels like I'm auctioning off bits of my life, but hey, a girl's gotta eat. Volunteering's the only thing making me feel like I'm not a total lost cause, a chance to sprinkle some good karma in the mess of my life. Then there's that first awkward encounter with my husband post-split. Picture this, a room full of people, and there I am, getting the cold shoulder as if I'm contagious. Humiliation doesn't begin to cover it. Thank God for friends who still believe in me, offering a shoulder and some much-needed encouragement. Their support becomes my lifeline, pulling me back from the edge of giving up. Enter the mysterious stranger, because apparently my life's now a spy novel. He's all cryptic warnings and hidden agendas, dangling information like a carrot I can't help but chase. The sealed envelope feels like something out of a movie, promising answers but only raising more questions. His talk of discretion and danger sends a chill down my spine, but the thrill of uncovering the truth is too tempting to ignore. So what do? Sign a non-disclosure agreement with a man whose name I don't even know, because that's the kind of decision-making prowess I'm working with. The burner phone he hands me feels like a ticking bomb, each task he assigns pulling me deeper into a world I never wanted a part of. But with each step, I'm getting closer to something, maybe not redemption, but at least a chance to fight back. The grand finale of my descent into espionage involves breaking into my former lover's company, because at this point, why not? With a little help from my tech-savvy friend, every heroine needs one. I'm in and out like a ghost, the sensitive information in hand. I'm crafting a narrative where I'm not just the victim or the villain, but the architect of my own comeback story. There I was, heart pounding like it wanted out, all dolled up in a getup that screamed I totally belong here at some swanky corporate shindig. My mission? Play spy for a night. Think less James Bond, more desperate housewife with a tech-savvy twist, armed with a fake ID that wouldn't fool a toddler, and a hidden camera disguised as a designer necklace. I was ready to dive headfirst into the lion's den. The crowd was a blur of tailored suits and fake smiles, each one of them clueless about the drama they were about to star in. I flitted from group to group, throwing around small talk like confetti, all while my hidden camera was catching every shady deal and whispered secret. Hacking into that private meeting was a piece de resistance, my fingers dancing over my phone like it was Beethoven's piano. And just for the cherry on top, I left behind a digital time bomb, an email set to deliver all this juicy info straight to my mysterious contact. Next up, the great server room heist. Picture this, me tiptoeing down a corridor straight out of a spy movie, dodging security like I'm in a game of human Frogger. The lock on the server room door didn't stand a chance against my makeshift gadgetry. Data copied, thumb drive tucked away, and me making my grand escape with an adrenaline rush that could light up Vegas. But here's where the plot thickens. Turns out my mysterious benefactor was playing me like a fiddle in his own orchestra of corporate warfare. That clandestine exchange felt straight out of a thriller, until he dropped the bombshell about his real employer. There I was, a pawn in a game I didn't even know I was playing, feeling the stings of betrayal sharper than a slap in the face. Watching the fallout was like observing a car crash in slow motion. You want to look away, but you just can't. My handiwork sent the lovers' company into a tailspin, share prices tanking faster than you can say scandal. And as he stood there at that press conference, trying to salvage what was left, I couldn't help but feel a twisted mix of victory and remorse. Retaliation wasn't long coming. The lover, that charming snake, finally pieced it all together and came at me with a fury I hadn't seen coming. His threats were cloaked in civility, but the message was crystal clear. I was in the crosshairs now, and he was pulling the trigger. The threat started small, almost laughable, anonymous emails, strange cars loitering a bit too long. But then came the package, a silent messenger of danger, leaving me chilled to the bone. My digital life turned into a battlefield overnight, every notification a potential grenade. But nothing, and I mean nothing, prepared me for the gauntlet of shame I'd walk at that public event. Old colleagues, their eyes burning with blame, their words sharp as knives, cutting me down for all to hear. The whispers, the stares. It was a walk of shame on a scale I'd never imagined. Slinking away from that debacle, I couldn't help but wonder, was it all worth it? Every sneaky move, every lie, every moment of thrill, it all came crashing down, leaving me to pick up the pieces of a life I barely recognized. As I wandered back into the shadows, the weight of my choices hung heavy on my shoulders, a constant reminder of the price of playing a game I never truly understood. Opening my door to find a guy with a clipboard and a sorry just doing my job look should have been my first clue that the day was about to nosedive. He hands me an envelope that feels like it weighs a ton. Lawsuit paperwork. My name, big and bold on the front, accusing me of espionage and theft. My heart's racing like I've run a marathon, and all I've done is stand here. First call? My lawyer. What the hell does this mean? I'm pacing, paper crackling like a bonfire with every step. He's calm. Too calm. Gather anything you have, we'll refute this. But as I dig through emails and texts, a sinking feeling tells me I'm in over my head. I dial my lover next, anger giving my voice a sharp edge. Why am I being sued? His silence speaks volumes, followed by a string of excuses that might as well be static. I hang up, feeling betrayed all over again. The night's a blur of legal jargon and worst-case scenarios playing in my head. Morning brings no relief. Trying to log into my bank account and getting an error message? That's panic in digital form. I'm throwing clothes into a suitcase like they're life rafts. Phone calls to friends, each one more desperate than the last. I just need somewhere to crash, a little cash to get by. It's humbling, this scramble for help. Then the credit card decline, the cherry on top of my disaster Sunday. My solution? Selling anything that isn't nailed down. It's bargaining for survival and pride's the first casualty. The final blow? A call to a relative, voice shaky, asking for refuge. But escape isn't in the cards. A parking lot becomes my personal horror movie set, cornered by faces that might as well be masks of my lover's betrayal. Their warning is clear. Stay in line or else. They leave with my cash and I'm left with a pounding heart and a head full of fear. Shelters become my new normal. It's a world away from the life I knew, each day blending into the next, a cycle of survival and reflection. I find solace in shared stories, the camaraderie of those with nothing left to lose. Volunteering gives me a sliver of purpose, a reminder that even at rock bottom I can still give something back. Then the call that breaks the camel's back, a friend's confession, coerced by my husband into betrayal. There hurts a physical thing, a gut punch that says, "You're on your own, cutting ties is my only move," a step towards reclaiming my autonomy. My last-ditch effort, a letter to my husband, words bleeding onto the page. I wait outside his fortress of solitude, heart in my throat. His rejection is cold, clinical. There's nothing left to say. It's a door slammed shut, the finality echoing long after he's gone. Court feels like a theater, and I'm the understudy thrown into the lead role without a script. My defense is passionate but falls on deaf ears. The judge's verdict a gavel to my hopes. But defeat? It's just a state of mind. I'm down but not out. Confronting my lover one last time, I seek the closure I know deep down won't come. His words are a knife, twisting with every lie. Walking away, there's a weight lifted. I'm free from the illusion of us, ready to face whatever comes next with a strength forged in the fires of my trials. This chapter of my life, it's one I'm ready to close, a story of loss, betrayal, and survival. But most importantly, it's about finding the resilience to start anew, to rebuild from the ashes of my past. Right, so imagine this, one day you're living what you think is your happily ever after, and the next, you're slapped with the cold hard truth that it's all just a fairy tale gone wrong. That's me, standing there, holding a piece of paper that might as well be a bomb. The court's decision? Not in my favor. Losing custody felt like they'd decided I was unfit to be a mom. Me, the one who'd read every parenting book cover to cover. I wasn't going down without a fight, though. I called up every lawyer in town, but each conversation left me feeling more desperate. And the hubby? Let's just say our chats weren't exactly heart-to-hearts, more like shouting matches filled with blame and what-ifs. Trying to see my kids and getting the door slammed in my face was the cherry on top of my nightmare Sunday. That's when the darkness crept in, a deep suffocating fog of sadness I couldn't shake off. Isolation became my new best friend. Days blurred into nights, my phone turned into a brick, ignored, silent. In a fit of rage, I trashed every photo, every memento. It was like trying to erase a life that once was. But the pain? That wasn't going anywhere. I teetered on the edge, thinking maybe, just maybe, there was an easy way out. Yet something stopped me. Instead, I found myself sitting in a circle of strangers at a support group, clinging to their stories like lifelines. Just when I thought things couldn't get weirder, he shows up. Mr. Mysterious with his cryptic hints and too-good-to-be-true solutions. Standing on my doorstep with a smirk, offering me a way out that reeked of trouble. Temptation gnawed at me. But something about his eyes said, "Run." I slammed the door, buying time to wrestle with the moral maze he'd thrown me into. My gut won. I couldn't do it. Couldn't dive deeper into the muck for a quick fix. I met him again. This time with a hidden recorder. "I'm not your pawn," I told him, hoping my voice sounded steadier than I felt. His threat sent chills down my spine, but I stood my ground. I was done making deals with devils. That's when life decided I needed even more excitement. Shadows tailing me, my car suddenly having a mind of its own, and my once safe haven bugged. Paranoid? Maybe. But when someone tries to run you off the road, you stop questioning your sanity. A PI confirmed my fears. It all led back to my ex-lover. Fantastic. In the midst of dodging physical and emotional bullets, I took a hard look in the mirror. It wasn't pretty. The counseling, the awkward calls to friends I'd ghosted, the realization that I'd played a starring role in my own downfall. It all hurt. But there was no magic rewind button. This was my mess to clean up. So I vanished, deleted my online life, ditched my old number and moved to a place where nobody knew my name. My world shrunk to the size of a garden patch, and the pages of books, the only friends I could trust not to stab me in the back. Loneliness? Sure. But it beat lying awake at night wondering who'd betray me next. Job hunting was a joke. Overqualified, or not enough recent experience. Take your pick. But I hustled, juggling gigs that paid in pennies and pride. Night classes became my Friday night party, each new skill a tiny victory. Just when I dared to hope I might crawl out of this hole, he found me again. Not the ex-husband this time, but the lover-turned-stalker, his parting gift a trail of breadcrumbs leading right to my door. Confronting him was like arguing with a brick wall, only less satisfying. He didn't budge, and I walked away knowing I'd lost more than just the argument. That's when I knew I had to disappear for real. No half measures, no looking back. I packed my life into a backpack and slipped away under the cover of darkness, bound for nowhere. New name, new hair, new me. The road ahead? Uncertain. But for the first time in a long while, it felt like